while you guys have been sleeping, I've been working on the car. I forgot to record some things. Well, I guess we should start with the inside. So as you can see, I went ahead and removed all that metal. It used to look like this. And then I did the same thing on the other side. So now we've got that all out of the way. I wanted to know how much room we had to go lower. So you might notice already that the car is lower because I was impatient and I couldn't wait. So I used to have quite the finger gap up here. Let me show you what that looked like right now. And we haven't made our way to the front yet. But what I was wondering, because it's technically a Miata underneath, it's actually super easy to work on. And I know that Miatas can lay frame. I've seen it like 1,000 times. I used to own a couple Miatas, if you guys remember from that long ago. But underneath the car, we've actually got quite a bit of room. Let me get a tape measure. So in the back of the car, to the pinch weld, we've got roughly 6.5 inches that we could go down. But if we compare that to the inside of the car, we've got about 2.5 inches before the tire smashes up against the inner fender well. And we're not going to remove any further than that. So theoretically, if my math is right, the bottom of the car can only get another like inch, maybe 2 before we max out, because I don't want to be scrubbing the inside of the wheel wells with the tires every time we try and launch this thing. It could be super stiff back there, depending on stance and whatnot, but I don't know. Now there's talks about airbags and lowering this thing as much as we can, and we'll see how things go. What I want to do today is focus on the front of the car and the camber, because this doesn't work. So I need to figure out how to adjust the camber on a Miata so that the rear wheel can do this and tuck up inside. Because inside we've got an absolute monster amount of room. Like, we could do a lot with all that. I think the back fenders have already been rolled a little bit. Yeah, I can see that the inside of the seam is rolled over. The fronts, however, I don't think we're in the same boat. The way a Festiva is designed, you see it gets more narrow in the front, unlike the Miata that sticks out much further and then curves around. So today I want to pull these wheels off, max out the coilovers on the low setting, and see where we go. It's not too much trouble to take these fenders off, so maybe I could space them out a little bit. We'll see. I forgot how dummy simple it is to do it on the front. I should have done it on the back this way, but I was thinking life had to be harder than it was. So these are max peating rod coilovers. I know that they are cheap, but they've served me very well. I think they're like under 300 bucks for the entire set. You just loosen up the lock collar, spin that all the way down, and then take your time to loosen the top collar and spin that thing all the way down. So once I do that, it'll be maxed out and we'll see how low we get. So we got her at the max low setting. You can see at the top just how much of a space we've got. I'll have to make sure I put that plate on the other side too. So we should gain a couple inches down for sure. Go ahead and do the other side, and then we will put the tires back on and try and lower it down. Wow, we cleared. Holy smokeronis. What? Before we get to the glory shots, I wanted to show you how much lower it got just by doing the fronts. Now we are down to just about 5.5 inches to the pinch weld. So that's like a whole nother, I think, inch drop in the back. And if we're being honest, we don't need such a tall sidewall at all. Like, the rim's way down in here and we're touching up here. So we could remove a lot of that tire. It's definitely a lot lower. Obviously there's no motor in it. And yep, I already tried it. I can't turn the tires. If I turn the steering wheel, it catches on the inner fender. So that would have to change. But I'm really surprised how well it got tucked inside. We could still see gap all the way around. Not so much on this side. But I wonder if the camber will fix all of these problems, because if the top is further in, it'll never touch the fender even as it rotates around. Definitely something we need to look into next. So I went around and measured everything else, and the lowest point in the car is the subframe right here. And that is currently 4.5 inches off the ground. So theoretically, we could go 4.5 inches more low around the car. In person, it looks up a lot higher than everything else, but that's because what your eye sees under the door is almost 9 inches off the ground. So you could imagine like a side skirt that would come down another 4 inches. The car would look considerably lower. Let me get some more beauty shots. Along with the side skirts, if we had a front lip kit, maybe from Home Depot, boy, that fitment is almost amazing. You know when you think you were filming stuff and you weren't? Or is that just like a YouTuber thing? We actually got a lot more progress done on the Festiva since the last clip you just saw. So I'm going to explain a couple things real quick. I think the last clip you saw was this coilover setup, and I was saying how it was max low. So it wasn't. Leon came over and he's like, I don't understand, you should be way lower than you are. And we took a closer look at it, and the whole bottom piece, the whole bottom tube assembly at the lower part of the shock actually spins up, and then that compressed the spring, so I don't have that weird gap anymore. So that's all fixed. When we did that in the back, I was still having a rubbing issue. But I spent some time on the internet. You can just sort of see that bracket for the upper control arm. So I bought adjustable upper control arms for 60 bucks. So I thought that was a great deal. Super nice guy. And that allowed me to suck the wheels way in on both sides. They're currently completely maxed out. So the fronts haven't been adjusted yet at all. They are just stock upper control arms. So I need to find a set of adjustable upper control arms for the front. But they do function because we got our lows out of it and there's still room, but as soon as I turn, it scrapes the side of the fender. But in the back, holy cow, we got like tons of room up here. So we're totally good in the back. I still need a lower profile tire, but they are proving very difficult to find. I'm gonna go ahead and simulate some suspension. We're not actually bottoming out on the tire. I need to cut away some of the bumper on right in this corner in here. But hopefully the very next clip you see is when I have acquired new adjustable front control arms. So it certainly hasn't been 2 to 3 weeks since the last time I filmed something. Anyway, it's super windy today, of course, because we're trying to record something, and I finally ordered some actual car parts. So these are NA Miata front top control arms, or upper control arms. And they come in multiple pieces, and we got to assemble them and all that nonsense, and I got to get the old stuff off. I've never done this before, so let's see what happens. So, a couple minutes later, or more, yeah, we got shiny parts on. Now, I'm not sure if these are all in the right way. It seems kind of weird that the screws would come in from the bottom and hold it, because if they backed out, they'd just fall on the ground. Anyway, so I'm going to pop the tire back on and see if this was all worthwhile. Right now, there doesn't look like much camber going in at all. I think the kit says it does -3 degrees, so we'll find out in a second. So, does that look like any negative camber to you? Because it doesn't to me. So all I was going off of was the fact that one of these says L and the other one said R. And I'm like, you know what? From the driver's point of view, that's the right side. What if it's upside down? So the good news is they're not upside down. Bad news is I don't think I have any more freaking camber. And if I was to turn the wheel right now, that one's gonna hit. Because I know it is, because it already does. So maybe I have to put on the other side. That sounds so dumb. Well, I guess I'm going to throw on the other side and see what happens. That way I can set the car back on the ground and turn it left and right and see if they still rub. I think I read on one of the websites that was listing these that you can flip them. So I could put the left on the right side and maybe upside down. I don't know. Let me think. So I jacked the car up on that side because I wanted to test this little theory. But, so survey says I'm screwed. So I was thinking, what if I ended up putting this ball joint in the wrong direction? So currently it's sitting in there like this, which is maxed out like that. But if I flipped it, see how it's offset so far to one side? I could slide this way further in. So I think I need to do that. I think this was supposed to be going in that way. You know what, now I'm going to check that previous picture I just showed you from my phone and see if it's actually going in that direction. Upon closer inspection, I did it the right way. So I don't know what's up with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo all that. As usual, Leon showed up and then suddenly everything started to work.
Oh. I'm just here to watch.
So yeah, I did that thing where I flipped it 180 degrees.
Twist this dick. Sorry.
And yeah, we definitely got camber now. So I'm gonna set it back down on the ground to waste my own time, see what it looks like, and then I'm gonna do the other side. And then I'll show you guys. Okay, so I got the other side on and we're gonna lower it and see how good it is.
It's good. Gonna go up first.
Tons of room up in there now. See?
Is that what it was rubbing?
Yeah, both sides. So, actually, since you're here, I'll turn the wheel.
You can watch it? Oh.
Alright, here.
Alright, we good to go, boy. Oh yeah, dude.
Here, that's next.
Good, cause you're good.
Not over a bump.
Not over a bump.
So don't turn over a bump.
You got a few millimeters.
It
You're
won't
good.
once there's weight.
Well, yeah. Then we raise it. Then we just bring it up a little bit so it's this height. It'll be alright.
So the good news is now we can finally get it back to the slab because it couldn't turn before.
The bad news is now I have to make another episode and move all my shit.
See you guys on the next episode of $1,000 Car Guy.
It airs in about 5 minutes. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a couple weeks.
What?
So I've been collecting parts for the next episode. Maybe you guys can make out what's in there. It's just a big old pile of crap. Currently, I am looking for a 6.0. That is the big stopping point right now. So once I get one, we can really move forward. We can get the engine back in and we can start mocking everything back up again. And that's when things are really gonna kick off. All right, thanks for watching the season so far. And I hope to see you on the next one. Next episode. All right, bye. This episode would not be possible without the Godspeed Project upper control arms for the front of my Miata. So if you want to get a set for yourself, go ahead and check them out. I will put a link in the description below. They were like $216, and honestly, they've done everything I wanted them to do, so I couldn't be more happy with them.